A warm welcome to the third and final session of our three-part series on Governance Demystified. In the first part of the series, we understood what governance is and what are the key guiding principles of good governance framework. Then we went ahead to understand the different components of governance. In the second part of the series, we looked at some globally adopted governance frameworks which can be used as benchmark by the organizations. Then we went through the key governance processes and steps of implementing them. Finally, we looked at how governance practices of an organization travel on a governance maturity journey from level 0, that is initiated, to level 5, which is optimizing, which is a continuous journey. In this session, we will go through some common challenges faced during the implementation of governance practices and try to understand circumstances leading to things going wrong. Towards the end, we will explore future trends that will shape the evolving landscape of governance. Let's look at the benefits of governance. We have seen how critical it is to have the right governance processes. Let's now understand how governance benefits the organization and enables it to sustainably grow while being resilient to adverse changes. Good governance practices play a critical role in facilitating informed decision making within an organization by providing a structured framework for collecting, analyzing and reporting information. This is possible as accurate and current information will be available with the right set of team members to enable timely strategic and operational decisions. Next, with clear roles and responsibilities defined and a structured risk management framework established, the risk management practices are strengthened. The leadership will now be better equipped to identify risks early, allowing for a timely mitigation strategy in alignment with the risk appetite. That too, without sacrificing opportunities of deriving any benefits. By being transparent about their operations, financials, and decision-making processes, organizations build trust with the stakeholders, including employees, customers, and investors, thus building increased trust and credibility. Good governance practices, especially a robust risk management framework, enhances an organization's sensitivity to change by promoting adaptability, foresight, and resilience. By continually assessing risks, both new and existing, organizations can identify and respond to potential changes and disruptions promptly. With a robust governance framework in place, everyone knows their roles, the decision-making hierarchy as well as the processes to be followed, enabling faster and more efficient responses. Good governance practices thus significantly enhance the agility of an organization's response. Let's look at some common challenges. We saw the benefits we can derive from having a strong governance framework in place. But reaching that stage is often not easy. Now let's look at some common challenges organizations faced when setting up a governance framework and sustaining its activities. The first challenge is inertia or resistance to change. This is usually the top hurdle in any major impactful project. People are generally not keen or comfortable to change the status quo. So this challenge will need to be tackled at multiple levels. Engaging various stakeholders, including employees, managers, and business partners, early in the process will help getting their timely inputs and support, which are crucial for smooth implementation. Also important is clear communication, appropriately articulating the benefits to the organization and maintaining open lines of communication about the implementation processes, timelines, and expected outcomes, which can be a game changer. Next challenge is resource constraint. Management may not be comfortable devoting a lot of resources, people, money, time to a large governance project till they see benefits from the approach. This is especially true for startups which are still building their businesses. Hence, it may make sense to start small and scale up. The organization can prioritize high impact operation areas and most critical aspect of governance that will provide the greatest benefit to the organization. They can also focus on simplifying the processes and leveraging technology wherever possible. In this way, organizations can effectively implement a governance framework even with limited resources while ensuring robust governance practices without overextending their capacities. Maintaining flexibility while implementing a governance framework is crucial to sustain the efforts and ensuring long-term effectiveness. The key is in balancing governance needs with the business agility. We must remember that the governance framework is an enabler to achieve business goals. It should not become an impediment in day-to-day operations. Stakeholder feedback and periodic reviews of the framework will help identify areas that require updates or improvements. It will also be useful if certain provisions of handling exceptions are included in standard procedures. This will ensure that the framework can adapt to any unique situations seamlessly. Dealing with contradictory priorities when implementing a governance framework can be challenging, especially when both priorities are critical. To ensure we don't end up in a catch-22 situation, it would be desirable to engage all relevant stakeholders early in the process to understand their perspectives and priorities. Also, identifying potential conflicts between priorities as early as possible through the risk assessment, developing strategies to mitigate the impact of these impasse, and involving leaders to actively resolve the issues in a timely manner can diffuse difficult situations before they blow out of proportion. Now let's look at why things go wrong. While there are challenges when implementing governance processes, the risks do not reduce even after the framework is in place. And despite the best efforts, things do go wrong. Let us see some root causes of such deviations and understand possible ways in which we can prevent their occurrences. One of the most prominent reasons for things going wrong is lack of clear roles and responsibilities. On one hand, this could give rise to jurisdictional fights. On the other hand, this could result into a decision landing squarely into a no man's land, where each involved officer may feel that someone else will be looking into it, without anyone actually working on it. This can be countered by ensuring clear demarcation of responsibilities and authorities resting with a specific individuals defined and documented. Next reason is inadequate documentation of policies, procedures, as well as evidence of transactions. In absence of documented policies and procedures, verbal directions are relied upon. However, with time, verbal directions have a tendency to get diluted, thus resulting in a compromised control. Also, in absence of required documented evidence of a transaction, it may be difficult to demonstrate compliance to internal and external regulatory requirements. Best way to avoid such a situation is to have documented policies and procedures which are accessible to all employees and have a mechanism of a periodic review and updation. Also, all compliance requirements associated with a particular transaction must be made a part of policies and procedures to enable uniform adherence. One more reason for issues cropping up is organizations' failure to comply with regulations. This usually results from a lack of understanding of compliance requirements or changes in laws not being incorporated appropriately in the organization's processes. To counter this, the organization must have a team which, along with ongoing compliance, tracks laws applicable to the organization and flags any changes to the teams concerned. The organization may also reach out to the third-party legal service providers which provide such information on an ongoing basis. Poor financial oversight is a prominent reason for many companies, especially startups, to fail. This is often caused by inadequate process controls and poor oversight by the leadership. Stakeholders may circumvent the controls, leading to mismanagement or worse, misappropriation of funds. This can be remedied by having a cadence of reporting and reviews so that any variances can be identified in time and explanations sought. Additionally, structured risk-based audit engagement activities will go a long way in reducing such risks. Another reason of why things may go wrong is insufficient risk management activities. As we discussed earlier, Risk management is a dynamic activity which needs to be performed regularly. If these activities are diluted, critical risks may be missed out to be recognized, or inadequate, ineffective controls may continue to expose the organization to serious risks. To avoid such a situation, a robust risk management framework must be in place so that all the critical activities, right from identification of risks, its assessment, prioritization, implementation of controls to periodic testing of controls for their efficacy, are owned by identified individuals and monitored meticulously by the leadership. With lack of regular and effective stakeholder engagement, interests and priorities get misaligned and often results in avoidable complications in form of lack of trust and credibility. Regular communication with the stakeholders, including investors, government authorities, employees and customers, helps bring all on the same page with respect to the pace and the direction of the organization. Such transparency also helps build credibility and bring together all the stakeholders in time of need. One common reason why things may go awry is the inherent conflict of interest which tends to develop whenever certain individuals are in the same role for a prolonged period. Such individuals are unable to keep organizations' interests ahead of their own, often questionable interests. Having clear policies in place to avoid conflict of interest influencing decisions and having transparent approach to decision making can reduce the risk of adverse impact on the organization. Additionally, it is a prudent practice to have job rotation of employees every 3 to 5 years. Last but not the least, inadequate training and education often contributes to things going wrong. In absence of necessary skills and knowledge, the employees are susceptible to making mistakes, which may endanger the organization's money and reputation, and at times life and property as well. Best way to counter this is to have policies and procedures required for safe, ethical and compliant conduct of business accessible to all the employees. Periodic trainings to reiterate key messages along with assessments to check awareness and understanding also play a key role in reducing possibilities of errors. Now that we are aware about how things can go wrong and what we can do to prevent them, let us look at a few best practices from some of the largest and renowned corporates. First, the leadership needs to have an oversight of compliances so that intervention, if necessary, can be initiated. This is provided by an integrated system where all the laws applicable along with the compliances are captured with the help of subject matter experts. These requirements are then aligned with an owner who is responsible for its compliance and will periodically update completion of the compliance requirement in the system itself. The compliance status is monitored through a dashboard by the leadership, and periodic review with stakeholders using this data will help close any pending compliances without any delay. Another best practice followed by good corporate citizens is proactive, regular and transparent interaction with their stakeholders. This may be in form of information made public through their website, statutory disclosure to regulatory authorities, or even an annual report which provides a comprehensive understanding into the operations of the organization. They may also have focus group discussions with their customers and vendors to identify their needs and iron out any process glitches they may be facing. Such stakeholder engagement enables the company to have ear on the ground and be seen as receptive to feedback. One critical success factor for companies is ability to incorporate learnings into the policies and procedures. Learning from mistakes and institutionalizing changes helps in reducing possibilities of recurrence of same mistake. Such feedback loops can be created by close working of internal audit team, investigation team, and process owners. Incorporating continuous improvement in governance domain is essential for ensuring that governance practices remain effective, relevant, and aligned with the organization's evolving needs. Companies often use other entities or industry standards as a benchmark to improve their own processes. Automation and workflow-based decisioning can significantly bring down latency in decision making while maintaining solid audit trails. Receptive organizations can learn not just from other companies in similar industry, but also from companies which are leaders in some other industry. Which companies would you like to emulate? Do think about it. We have heard that work as we do today would be transformed in coming years. Governance needs and manner in which these are integrated in our daily operations are about to experience a paradigm shift. Let's attempt to peek into the future of governance. With closer integration between stakeholders, governance requirements will be embedded into the workflows. This will mean all stakeholders will depend more and more on digital governance. It will also mean more susceptibility to cyber attacks. COVID has been a rude awakening for all risk managers. It is believed that the future black swan events can be a result of a variety of reasons, which are not even considered as risk till recently. This includes AI-driven deepfakes to extreme climate events. To identify and address the surge in such unforeseen, high-impact risks, risk management will need to employ creative strategies. Recent revisions in the laws and disclosure requirements have indicated that regulatory frameworks will be only getting more stringent in days to come. There will be increased disclosure requirements needed by the regulators and need for transparency driven by peer pressure. Moreover, increased data sharing with the government will elevate the responsibilities of compliance officers to the next level. It is also expected that even if local jurisdictions do not mandate, more companies will be nudged towards adopting and demonstrating compliance to global standards of governance. One such example is ISO 37001 standard for anti-bribery management system. Many global investors derive comfort from adoption of such benchmarks by the investee companies, and such considerations ultimately impact the investment decisions. Companies with strong ESG practices are often viewed more favorably by consumers, employees, and other stakeholders, enhancing their reputation and brand value. Investors and other stakeholders are actively looking for companies with transparent and ethical governance practices to ensure long-term sustainability and trust. It is expected that this trend will only be growing stronger in the coming years. Let's do a quick recap of what we learned today. We started this session by going through the benefits of strong governance processes, after which we looked at common challenges faced when implementing governance frameworks. We also saw why things go wrong and what can be done to avoid such mishaps. Finally, we went through some governance best practices and tried to gaze into the crystal ball to see the future of governance. As always, we have an end of the session activity for you. Using whatever we have learned today, identify 3 interventions to improve the maturity levels of different governance processes in your organizations. With that, we come to the end of the 3-part series on demystifying governance. As we conclude this journey into understanding governance, remember that strong governance frameworks lay the foundation for organizational success. With a better understanding of governance components and of how to implement the robust governance frameworks, we are now equipped to tackle the real-world challenges. It's also very much clear that ongoing learning, staying ahead of trends, and continually improving governance practices is vital for survival. As you embrace these insights and facilitate your organization to thrive in an evolving landscape of governance, I wish you all the best. Thank you for being part of the journey. All the best. Thank you.